Hey guys, in just 3 days, the world's largest arena for sports and collectibles is back in New York City. Catch the return of FANATICS Fest from June 20th to the 22nd, where you could share the floor with the biggest names in sports. That means appearances by over 500 iconic athletes and celebrities from your favorite teams, including current and former New York Knicks legends, plus live panels and podcasts, exclusive merch collabs, a trading card area with 200 of the biggest dealers in the biz, and way, way more. Get your tickets today using the link in the description of this Knicks Film School episode you're either watching or listening to, and get 20% off your ticket price with promo code Knicks Film School 20. A great offer that has been extended until the opening day of FANATICS Fest on June 20th. Again, check the link in the description and use promo code Knicks Film School 20 for a 20% discount. When the world's greatest athletes gather in New York City, don't miss it.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of whatever this is, because I have no idea what to name it. It's not a pregame pod. I guess it's a Knicks Film School pod. We've called it the off-season pod. But Andrew Claudio here, a.k.a. GMAC, and it is time to just talk about what's actually going on with the New York Knicks at the moment. They are in the midst of a head coaching search. By all reports, they are going to talk to Taylor Jenkins and Mike Brown this week. Some insiders and reporters and columnists, and maybe one of those fine gentlemen is with me on this episode today, have mentioned other names that have come up throughout the coaching search. And we're just going to talk about some stuff going on with the New York Knicks. And I'm happy to do it with my very good friend, Mr. Kris Pursiainen, no longer intern, no longer even like a freshman here at Knicks Film School. This man is making waves in the national world as an insider for Clutch Sports, as well as the doldrums of WFAN, as one as their producers, their board ops, would have you. Kris, long time no speak in this capacity, buddy. How are you doing?
Good. Thanks for having me, man. Yeah, I definitely have been all over this Knicks coaching search, but I think there's two sides to that knife. Like, yes, I think I know I've been all over it. I've done good reporting. I've had articles come out, 5 in the last week. I'm out here in the Clutch Point sweatshop, getting these pieces up. The other side of it is I feel a little bit like Oppenheimer, where it's like, what have I done? I feel like this coaching search has been covered uniquely. And I think I've struggled personally with the dual just confusion that it brings me to think, okay, every piece I put out, fans are getting better informed. They have a better idea of what kind of coach the Knicks are looking for, this, that, the third. On the other side, like, teams ask for permission to speak to other teams' head coaches all the time. This guy, Sam Vecini, pretty well. He tweeted that this is like very par for the course. And, this is something that happens every year. So I feel like every time I put out an article being like, oh, they did speak to Calipari or whatever, it's like, am I feeding the machine here? Like, am I the problem? But I do end up erring on the side of keep the fans informed, give them what they want. So you're having the same internal crisis and conflict as Taylor Swift. It's me. Hi, I'm the problem. It's me is what a little bit. Yeah. You're telling me. Well, now Travis Kelce went, and I don't know if someone showed him pictures of me or whatever, but guy went to the barber and said, let me get the Kris P, so.
Wait, what?
He's got the same haircut as me.
Does he really?
Exact same hairstyle as me.
You could literally tell me he retired and I wouldn't. No, I have no idea what's going on with Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce these days. Personally, just where my life is right now, it revolves around the Knicks head coaching search,
basketball,
the NBA Finals, and the New York Mets. That's been the majority of my life at the moment. Now, look, we should do some housekeeping.
Let's go Mets.
Yes, let's go Mets. We should do some housekeeping from a Knicks Film School perspective, because you've been the host of Draft Class over the past few years. And if anybody's wondering where Draft Class is, the Knicks have one pick currently in the 2025 NBA draft. It is pick 50. We are not planning an entire program around draft class. Kris, I don't know if you would co-sign that it probably isn't the best use of your resources and your time to do weeks and weeks of content around will they actually use pick 50 in the upcoming NBA draft, and like what do we do with the first round? We may do a watch along for it, but I can't even guarantee we're going to do that because again, why would we watch the first round unless it's to just hang out, which we could totally do. But that's why draft class is not happening this year. We just wanted to let everybody know. Thankfully, Kris, you have, as you've mentioned, added more tools to your toolbox. And we can talk about some of the things going on at the moment in the Knicks world and kind of pick your brain a little bit. And look, I am not a reporter or an insider in any way, shape, or form. Heard some things, and maybe I can throw them at you and see if you can either confirm them or contrast what I'm hearing. Let's just start here, Kris. The actual firing itself. Let me get your opinion before I get your information. Did you have a problem with it? Were you on board with it? What was your general reaction to Thibs being let go? You haven't given that take on YouTube yet, at least on our YouTube channel yet.
I think the first thing was, oh my God, wow, they did it. The second thing being like, okay, I get it. And sometimes, you know, you read a book or you watch a movie and you think you think you're pretty sure what the deeper meaning is. But sometimes it does take that final big last scene or that last chapter to really explain and demonstrate to you with words or with scenes what that story was supposed to mean. And I think that was the Pacers series for the Knicks front office. I think they had a pretty good idea going into the Pacers series that this head coach, and listen, there's good and bad to everything in the world. Like if I said I'm going to give you $3 kajillion right now, you'd have a lot of tax paperwork to do. Like there's good and bad to everything, even if one outweighs the other. I think the front office was very certain by the Detroit and Boston series that Thibodeau's bad is never going to be coached out of him. Like they'll never be able to change that. And the decision basically came down to how much is that a problem to us? And I think, and I know you said opinion, but I have to interject.
Can be your informed opinion.
With some reporting that during the Boston series, the Knicks front office, and this wasn't for the sake of, we want him to change his ways. Like it was because they wanted the starting lineup change. But I had heard during the Boston series, the front office suggested to Thibodeau, not in a demanding way of any kind whatsoever, that he make a change in the starting lineup. And, you know, the same way that I knew this, the front office knew this, that from Minnesota to New York, from Chicago, all three destinations, Tom Thibodeau has never once in his career to this day changed his starting lineup in a playoff series if his team was tied in that series or if his team was winning that series. The only exceptions are injury. Injury has forced lineup changes onto him, and recoveries from injury have, forced him to bring starters back into the mix. But other than that,
he changed it when it was 1-1 against Atlanta, though. That's when he went when Elfrid Payton got sent to the end of the bench and Derrick Rose became
with the banishing of Elf. Yeah, that came across my mind, and it was like I did kind of put an asterisk on that because that was a lineup change that I think fans were ready for from game 2 of the regular season.
As the front office is concerned, like to your point, he did change it once, and this is not even a credit to Thibs for doing the thing he probably should have done a while ago. And that series was way more about Julius Randle and the struggles that he was having.
Yeah, you're right, though. You're right. And it's a good point. I guess mine overall to amend the wording was in a series he was winning. He's literally never changed his starting lineup unless it was because of injury. And they asked for a change knowing they were not going to force it on him and knowing it might not happen. But for Thibodeau to say, no, we're winning, I'm going to keep doing it this way. Contrast that with what the Knicks were doing in the 97th, 98th, 99th, and 100th games they played this season, which was throwing different versions of the same you-know-what at the wall and being like, ooh, this probably needs to stick if we're going to be playing in 2 days. That's so like, I do think that was loud. I think the front office suggesting a starting lineup change, and then all of a sudden, fast forward 2 weeks, the Knicks are down 0-2 because of extenuating circumstances, and then a lineup change is made, and then here's DeLon Wright, and then here's Landry, and it's like, okay, well, DeLon Wright played 230 regular season minutes for this team. We think it's awesome that you're utilizing him now and ditching campaign for this guy. You had January through April to figure this out. Or like DeLon was traded for in February. You had February through April to figure this out. I think enough things just added up where the front office was like, hey, we love Tom Thibodeau. We need a different coach to give us the best chance to win going forward. And there's a whole thing about ownership too. Like, yeah, I think ownership was involved here. Like I can't just say, oh, imagine you own about, because that's not easy for people to imagine. But like, if I had a Clash of Clans village and they were like, you're going to need to pay 500 gems to clean up all the shrubs around the side of your Clash of Clans village, and you have the 500 gems because you have like 8,000 and you're loaded, is your first thought, oh, sure, I'll pay whatever you want? Or is it like, damn it, how did this get so bad? How did my shrub problem around my base get so bad? Who let this happen? I got to check this out for myself and see why I'm paying 500 gems to clean up a bunch of trees and rocks. And it's like, I think $30 million had that effect for James Dolan, where it was a little bit like, okay, yeah, I don't got to meet with the whole roster. Let me meet with the top dogs. Let me find out if I really need to be paying $30 million for someone to not work for me, and then more millions to replace that person. Let me make sure that this is really something I want to be doing here. So I don't know that this was like forced by ownership as much as like confirmed by ownership, if that makes sense.
So you lost me at Clash of Clans, but I do understand the analogy that you're going with. Apologies for having never played that game before in my life. However, and look, this goes to the significantly less information I've been given, and I think Ian kind of confirmed it on our show last week when the wording I think is important as far as Dolan's involvement in this. This being a Leon Rose decision, and I wonder if you'd agree with this, is less about Leon going to Thibs and saying you're fired. It's any suggestion in the past where it was maybe we should think about a head coaching change. He was like, no, adamantly, no, Thibs is our guy. And this was the first time he was like, yeah, maybe we do need a head coaching change. And it's the first time he wasn't willing to lay down on the tracks to protect his head coach. And maybe a couple of exit meetings is what forced that reconsideration. But yeah, my first thought also being it was time. I agree with you, Kris. I want to acknowledge because there's a portion of the fan base that, and I know Twitter's not real life, so I'm trying not to. I say portion of the fan base because it is a very vocal minority of the fan base that is just okay with the process because it means not Thibs. And if not Thibs is the plan, a lot of people are okay with it. And then a lot of people that thought Thibs was always the correct guy, they've then responded with, this is an outrage. How dare not Thibs be the plan? I see both sides. I need the people that are okay with not Thibs to just recognize how unprecedented it is that a guy gets a team, or a team just flat out makes it to the conference finals, progresses from a year earlier, continues to get further into the playoffs each year, and then fires their head coach. I don't think there are many examples of that. The only two I can think of, Kris, is the Ime Udoka situation, which had nothing to do with basketball, and Rick Carlisle, who
I was going to say that was the love and part of Love and Basketball. Go on.
Well, no comment. Rick Carlisle in 2003, which Larry Brown was lined up and ready to go right after it happened. And that was after a Pistons team got swept by the Nets. So it was a little more understanding that it wasn't, how do I put it? Like it wasn't necessarily that like they didn't accomplish, like they didn't get as far as Thibs and the Knicks did. So I need people to understand why on both sides. Like if you're okay with not Thibs, the fact that the Knicks, that's their only plan, that they're now going through a normal head coaching search and scouring the league. Yeah, like they can go get Taylor Jenkins or Jason Kidd or Johnny Bryant, and they could win a lot of games next year. And they could also not get as far as Thibs did with the Knicks this season and it be considered a failure as a result. They have created such an unprecedented situation for this franchise where I understand any pushback to the decision to do it while recognizing it probably and may end up being the correct decision to do so. We can now pivot into the actual head coaching search, if possible, Kris. And I know you've recently said that Jason Kidd is still in the mix. I've heard some things that Taylor Jenkins is held in high regard. Maybe some background work is being done more extensively than others on Taylor Jenkins. We'll note that Taylor Jenkins is a CAA client, so that makes a little bit of sense. If you were to end up getting the job, just give you the floor here. What are you hearing as far as the head coaching search, and like who are the front runners? Who's still in play? What do you say, Kris?
Yeah, I was on the Zach Gelb show yesterday at the Infinity Sports Network, and I was asked a similar question, and I kind of forced myself to be like, okay, Kidd's the favorite, and I'll go Jenkins second. Like that, I'll give you that 1-2 punch of Kidd Jenkins. But you've got to acknowledge that the favorite in this situation is like plus 450. You know, like this is not a minus 115. This is not a minus 300. The favorite here is like plus 450. And that I think captures a couple of things. One, yes, that Jason Kidd, I would say, is the favorite for the job. I think he's the Knicks' top option if they can wiggle him loose from Dallas with some maybe a promise of a green. But basically, if that can't happen, they're gonna hit the ground running on a pivot. Like they have so many things lined up. There are still college coach names that I refuse to report because I'm not going to get caught in between them and their NIL donors in this new era. But like, there's still college coaches that are out there that they're very interested in, that just like their names haven't even been reported a single time. There are pro assistant, former pro head, like they're looking into every level of this. And the reason isn't because they're like, oh, it's really hard to find someone to replace Thibodeau. And it's not because like, oh, our plan was all these head coaches. Now we have no plan. Oh no. Like it's more so like, hey, we have to nail this. This is potentially the most important coaching hire in the history of this organization. Geez. All right. Well, we need to get it right. Okay, let's make sure we get it right. Who else is going to hire people up before us? Oh, nobody. So we could take our time. And I think that take their time aspect is a little bit of why we've gotten all the reports that we have about this coaching search, because stuff is trickling out as it does, or as it can. And I don't know that like people are in a huge rush to kind of try and prognosticate this process, because everyone looking from the outside in, like the snow is still falling in the globe. So right now, reporters would be playing a game of like, oh, I think that's a Christmas village under there in that snow globe, but still covered in snow. Like it's still shaking down to the bottom. So Jason Kidd, the favorite, but at like plus 450 or 500 or whatever you want to. I thought an odds pun would be good.
Mm-hmm. Shout out to the fine folks at Fanatic Sportsbook. They gave us some odds last week, and Jason Kidd wasn't on said list. Taylor Jenkins and Mike Brown, and look, Mike Malone was on there too. if I were to create a leader in the clubhouse, I would also say kid based on the reporting, but I'll just flatly say I'd be shocked if it wasn't Taylor Jenkins at this point, based on some of the things I've heard. Am I way off on that, Kris?
No, not at all. Because it's a double assumption. one, that they don't get kid. two, that they choose Jenkins after that. As of right now, those are both the two likeliest events for those hypotheticals. Like, I would think they don't get kid. I would think they probably choose Jenkins. Listen, Jenkins, like you said, is CAA. Very easy for them to do the legwork, the background work. They are definitely like actually interested in him, but I don't think he would tell you he's getting the job. Like, I don't know that any coaching candidate at this point would be like, I feel pretty good about getting that job. I think Kidd knows it's his if he wants it. I think Jenkins knows that it's Kidd's if he wants it. You know, like,
well, the other aspect, just to jump in, like, it's not just whether or not Jason Kidd wants it, right? It's whether or not Dallas will let him go have it. And that's where I keep going back to. I would just assume Dallas gives him the money that he may potentially want in an extension, and then Jason Kidd, like, you don't really have the cards to play here. You're at the mercy of the team that you are currently the head coach of, right?
Yes, but also, like, Andrew, if we were dating for 6 years, I'm at the mercy of you in our relationship, and if I keep waving at other handsome young men at the beach, maybe not so much, right? Like, the Windhorse coming out and being like mutual interests, that to me wasn't Jason Kidd flirting with the Knicks. That was Jason Kidd straight up being like, Nico, I'd like an open relationship. I know this isn't, like, you
are on one with the analogies today, sir. I would hope in our 6-year relationship there wasn't a contract involved, but I see what you're saying, and then it goes into compensation, and I would also put it at, like, which, like you said, if Fanatics was to create a board for us and they gave us like Nico Harrison, Jason Kidd, and Taylor Jenkins at plus 450 and plus 500, those would be my two front runners. Because I know that this is a popular name. What have you heard about Johnny Bryant?
I think the news on Johnny Bryant is that there is no news. Like, I have always felt during this process, like, I don't want to say it was unfair, but that, like, he was a little bit used as like, hey, the fan base knows this guy, and we can set him up as like in our C tier or at the very end of our B tier of desired candidates. And if everything hits the fan, we can go with him and sell it as something to get excited over. Like, I never got the sense that the Knicks were excited by Johnny Bryant as a candidate, more just so that they were considering him as one. But it seems like they're considering a lot of people as one. So I'm not sure how much that means. Listen, I think Bryant's a good coach. I think he's obviously someone who has now coached under enough different kinds of head coaches to bring some pretty unique experience to the table. I'm just not sure if that's a leap the Knicks front office is ready to take, given the experience they've targeted overall, So yeah, sure. Like, they have some names on their list that have no NBA head coaching experiences too, but those names haven't surfaced yet in reports. Like, they haven't worked down to that part of their wish list yet, I think is the takeaway.
That makes sense to me too. And it just goes back to the situation. Like I said, team that continues to progress every year is 6 wins away from a title. Are you going to hand the keys over to a first-time head coach? That's like to a veteran team too. Not like an old team, but everybody's on their second contract. So it's why I'm expecting either a Jason Kidd or a Taylor Jenkins or a Mike Brown hiring at this point. Do you have anything else you want to add on the coaching search before I ask about some of the roster stuff?
Nah, I was just going to say, like, I know the draft is coming up like in a week now. So would be interesting to see if the Knicks wrap this up before then, or if they are willing to let it continue after the draft. So the thing is, you have the number 11 pick overall and you want a head coach to be in alignment with who you're taking and whatever. It's like, well,
yeah. So that's actually a question I had for you, Kris. Like, timing wise, how important do you think it is to them that they have a coach by the draft? Or do you think the fact that they don't have a pick until 50, and who knows how much that 50th pick is going to factor into their roster, their plans?
Might do the kick the can down the road thing for the 8th year.
The Brock Aller, like, we're going to trade out of this draft anyway, which you unfortunately have been a victim of, with doing weeks and weeks of work on the draft, and the Knicks don't take a pick. Basically, do you think there's like a timeline or a time limit that they know they have to have a head coach by, let's say, Monday, so that way they have a war room ready? Or is there not even going to be a war room because they don't have anything factored into this upcoming draft?
Yeah, I mean, there's always a war room, but I think maybe this time it's more of an R&R room.
It may be at a Chili's, is what you're saying?
They've got some waters and
gotcha.
They've got some waters and sodas in the corner. And no, I mean, listen, the Knicks are really excellent at identifying talent that they think is going to be worth their time and finding a way to get it on their roster in the most ludicrous of parts of the draft. Like Jericho Sims, 58th overall pick, turned him into DeLon Wright, who was objectively on the court during some of the most important moments of the entire season for the team. A few years later, 58th pick, Ariel Hukporti. Maybe that's someone who's going to be the third string center this upcoming season, or depending on what moves they make, maybe even as high as the second string center. We don't exactly know yet, but
yeah,
they're really good at that. 2 different years, right? There's a guard I identify as someone that, between Thibodeau and the rest of the Knicks roster and their talent, would really, really be great for them. And I'm like, they should take him in the first round. He's a first round guy. And then both years they've gotten him with the 36th overall pick in McBride and Kulik. So like they maneuver just fine. Like they don't need my suggestions. But more importantly, I would say, if they're going to add someone from this draft, it's going to be someone that they thought should have been taken by pick 40 or, whatever, that like fell because of injury reasons or whatever it is, like a Kevin McCullough, a junior. That doesn't require that doesn't take rocket appliances, like it's a front office thing. Like I'm pretty confident in saying that Jericho Sims was a Brock Aller draft pick. Like that was his thing. Hukporti, I know the front office in general is high on, so I don't know exactly what member of the front office, maybe pounded the table for him, but like they're just going to go about this the way they go about this, which is there a guy that we all agree should have been drafted much higher? Yeah. Okay. We take. Oh no. Okay. We trade. Like that's kind of it.
Interesting. So now let's talk about the roster a little bit. I'm just going to say some names, and you wrote a very good piece yesterday for Clutch Points on this first name I'm going to mention. Jaren Jackson Jr. After Des Bane was traded to the Orlando Magic, it shook up the NBA world. This is once again where I will say what I've heard, and then a more informed person like yourself will then expand on it. And if I'm way off, the last I heard about Jaren Jackson Jr. was that the GM in Memphis is all about, he's a superstar, he's underrated, I want to supermax this guy. Well, Triple J didn't make All NBA this year, didn't win Defensive Player of the Year, and now they've traded Des Bane for 4 picks. As much as so I don't want to take words out of what you're saying, I'll let you say that, but the front office certainly feels a certain way about Jaren Jackson Jr. If you could tell everybody what those feelings are, and then how likely you think, based off of what you've heard, how likely do you think Jaren Jackson becomes available this offseason?
I would venture to guess that it's very unlikely, but going off of what we have seen and what I've heard, I would just say it's unlikely. It seems like Memphis is very willing to change their course depending on what comes across their desk, what comes across the phone lines. That said, I do think to some extent that they're going to look to sell this as a retool, as it was a necessary evil to trade Dez. They can now re-sign Aldama, like they re-signed Jackson, like they've got some flexibility now. I feel a little bit like that team is kind of just putting, like, I don't even know what analogy would be good here, so I'll just say it. Like they're grasping at straws, like that. There's a euphemism for whatever. They're really trying hard to keep this together, and I don't know how well that's going to go. Maybe this season, the Grizzlies minus the connective tissue, shooting, defending, switching, ball handling guy are somehow more cohesive, and everyone has a sense of what their role is supposed to be, and they make some middling ad in free agency that's kind of exciting. And maybe they go get Chris Middleton, right? Maybe they're the team now that pays Chris Middleton that one last golden parachute. Okay, cool. You guys are like fake fun now. Like you guys are still the 8th seed in the West. Like I don't know how fun that is. I can't. But I wouldn't think they just move Jack. Like if they were, how about this? If they were to move Jackson now, it would probably be for a whole store of tools to rebuild with. And then they'd trade Morant last, or just keep him. And because no one's tanking in the West, so you could like sit Ja half the year and still tank.
Yeah.
If they do that pivot, I get the sense that they want more of a rebuilding package for Jackson, unless they convince themselves, like I wrote about, hey, we still got Morant, we still got all these talented young guys. Yeah, we had some turmoil with the coach, but we're good now. Well, what if we take Jaren, who we think we might want to move long term, or maybe he doesn't want to be here, and move him for Mikal Bridges, who we previously valued very highly. He can help replace Bane's skill set a little bit. We still have all those picks from Bane. Then we can turn around in a year and be, maybe I was going to say Zion Williamson has rehabbed his image. Maybe Lauri Markkanen gets moved from the Jazz, whatever it is. Like maybe they could be at the top of a trade offer for someone like that. Maybe Philly finally decides they're going to move Tyrese Maxey, and Memphis is like, we'll give you Morant and a draft pick, or so, who knows, right? Like we could get crazy, but they're very well set up right now to be prepared for that. I would think they hold in this formation rather than continue to strip for parts, just because like what more assets do they need if some star becomes available that they could add to JJJ and Ja and change the course of the team? Okay, sure. They got Vince, they got Gigi, they got some young contracts to trade. I think they'll wait and see if any Nico Harrisons are willing to save their jobs in a year before they tear the rest of this thing down.
Yeah, the see if Nico Harrison is there. Strategy is not the worst one, because like you just said, the Nico Harrison thing happened, and who knows if a bad GM is going to hate their best player and offer you a deal you can't refuse. And I think you hinted at my reaction to the Bane trade, that it was less of a white flag, as Bill Simmons called it, and it was more of a retooling. The words you used, what an offer that came across their desk, like something that they can't refuse. And 4 picks for Des Bane is quite literally an offer you cannot refuse if you're the Memphis Grizzlies. And I'd imagine that, to your words that you put in clutch points, the dream pairing of Karl-Anthony Towns and Jaren Jackson Jr. being what it is, if Triple J was able to become available, other teams would be able to offer a Des Bane or just flat out a Mikal Bridges like package. I'd actually think it'd be even more of a Kevin Durant type package, where you're getting players and picks back in a deal like that, which is just something the Knicks can't offer, unfortunately. So that would be my understanding of the situation. just going to throw a couple names at you. They're not even necessarily Knicks related, but more just like, where do you see them ending up? Where do you think KD ends up?
This is bizarre, man. I think Miami. I want to say Miami. It feels kind of perfect. Like, okay, the Warriors were after Durant and LeBron and all these big names. Then Jimmy becomes available and goes through a couple destinations. And it's like, okay, this is probably going to happen, right? These two will end up together. Pat Riley tying the rest of his career to Kevin Durant at 36. But that said, probably I think what's going to happen. I think the Suns, I know Gambadoro has been reporting they don't like Wiggins. He also reported that they didn't like Towns, and now the Knicks are completely out of it. So I think you'll either continue to see the trade suitors dwindle. Like, I'd expect the Spurs to bow out of this conference. I think they're waiting for Phoenix to be reasonable with them. But what I've heard is that like Phoenix is just asking way more of San Antonio than of the other suitors, because they know San Antonio has way more. So the Spurs have kind of done what I would do, which is say, screw you guys, I'm going home. And they're sitting by the phone in their house, but you don't know that. They're in their house. So, yeah.
Yeah, I've heard the Miami thing too, but to your point, it's because they're going to be the team left over that is willing to offer the most that they can when every other team involved is offering less than what they can offer. Like, if that makes sense. Like, San Antonio is not going to give their best offer for Kevin Durant. Same for Houston. It's Miami that's like, what do you want? We will give you whatever you want in this. We are desperate for a superstar. So here's the pick that we made sure that we got back from Golden State. Here's Duncan Robinson. Here's Andrew Wiggins. You know, you at least get a pick in this year's draft. And potentially, I don't even know what else Miami would offer, but that's what I've heard, is that they're going to be the team left that like has something to offer, that that is willing to give an actual real offer, and not, you know, here's an offer, but I'm holding some of the chips that you actually want.
So that's the thing, right? Is like, I was asked about this yesterday on the JR Sport Brief show, and it was like, are they going to give either Hero or Adebayo? And I was like, I don't think they have to give either. Like, who's out here offering something worth that? I don't think anyone else is. Like, you can't bet against yourself, or you can't, bid against yourself, rather. I think the Spurs have felt like the ask is a little ridiculous of them compared to what they feel is being asked of other teams. So I would expect them to bow out for now. And if all of a sudden it's just down to the Spurs and the Heat, maybe then they kick in that one extra swap or something that gets it done.
Yeah, I agree. Giannis, I mean, I've thought for a while this offseason that this was going to be the summer he finally decides to leave. And then as the landscape has kind of played itself out, it's just like the East is somewhat open next year. And I at this point, there's also a hint of what's the team? Like, who's going to be the team that actually can give you equal value for Giannis, or appropriate value for Giannis? And I almost wonder if they look at this year, with Boston being what it is, and the chance to retool, that they can just I don't think they can run it back and be better. Like, they won 48 games, I believe, last season. Like, they're not that far from being a 50-win team, and they're not going to have Dame this year. So, I mean, do you co-sign the sentiments that, like, Giannis is not going this offseason, that this is maybe another offseason where somebody is actually the team to make a move for him?
Yeah, I would say next offseason as well. I mean, there was the funny thing I found where it was like right at the start of this offseason, he invested like heavily into Midwestern car wash brand, and like store ownership. And they were saying in the press release, like, fans can come win tickets to see Giannis and the Bucks. Like, obviously those things change as soon as he gets dealt, but it did feel a little bit like, why are you entering this long-term financial investment if you're going to leave in 2 weeks?
Yeah. I think the Giannis thing, again, it slowly developed where he took a second to look at the offseason and look at the landscape of who am I available to go to? And the team just isn't there that he wants to go to. So, look, all this to say, as far as it's related to the Knicks, I mean, how much roster turnover do you potentially see this offseason, Kris?
Not too much. Like, I don't think we see a million trades or signings or that's all. Yeah. I just don't see much coming. I don't.
Gotcha. And look, neither do I. So this is going to be a head coaching change and basically run it back with the same roster is what you're foreseeing.
I think they'll try to make moves. You know, one of the Towns or the Anunoby deals is what stands out as like, oh, they'd have to move that. I just don't see what moves another team is going to agree to, or like that the Knicks would agree to another team's trade. Like, I don't know that it does take two to tango. And I don't know if the dance partner is there this summer overall. Like, I would expect the roster to be mostly the same. And I guess I was short in my answer because I'm trying to kind of think like, what? I don't know that I don't think they wanted to just add one dude and then go back into it with the same roster, but that might be the situation they're left in.
So last question then, what's the starting five on opening night in your mind?
This is a good one. I said before the start of the playoffs that it would be Brunson, Bridges, Anunoby, Towns, Kessler, was my prediction.
You said this before the playoffs that next season's starting five would have Walker Kessler in it.
I think it was to Kevin Danishevsky at a KFS watch party. I think he was like way too early prediction, Kris. Like, let's go. And that's what I had for him. I don't know that. I feel like now you might just see the five that started the end of the season. Like,
so
Brunson Bridges, Brunson Bridges, Anunoby, Towns, Robinson. I still think they will very much try to make a move for Kessler, especially given that he's cheaper this year than Robinson is, and then they can extend him to an affordable rate and blah, blah, blah. But I don't know that I feel strongly enough about that anymore that I would say that's my official prediction for opening night starters. So I kind of want to say screw it and do it anyway.
Go for it. Come on.
Yeah, screw it. All right. I'll go the lineup that ended the season, but with Kessler instead of Robinson. Knicks get involved. However, it is the Jazz choose to deal Sexton, and they get involved. Robinson goes to some third team and they get Kessler. They send the Washington pick and like 3 second rounders. I mean, something like that.
You could argue the Washington pick is already 2 second rounders.
Yeah, so right. So like
part of it. Yeah,
they're getting into the deal like as a sweetener, but they walk out with Walker.
Yeah, well done. Any thoughts on the finals? Is this thing over?
I think this thing is over. I think the Pacers are like awesome. I think they're so like about what this is all supposed to be about, the unlikely, the impossible, the underdog doing those things. But all that said, like, well, they're the underdog for a reason. And I think the Thunder, especially as the series is progressing, yes, they look a little phased by the pace that Indiana's been making them play. I don't know if you noticed last night, Andrew, that like when someone on OKC falls to the ground, they stay there for like 30 seconds minimum to, I think, just buy everyone some rest. I don't think they're actually injured. Playing Indiana is exhausting. Knicks learned the hard way, right? But I think their talent now is finding its level, and they are crushing it. I don't know. I think Indiana might win one more, but don't they feel a little emotionally defeated to you after? It kind of does feel like OKC just stops on their necks next time out.
The game 4 loss is going to be what I think haunts Pacers fans, potentially that locker room, that they were up 8 going into the fourth quarter, had a lead with 3 minutes left and just couldn't close. and you would have had a 3-1 lead on this team with a home game in hand. And that's a young team that potentially you could crush their spirit that way. And you didn't necessarily allow them back in the series because that's not giving enough credit to OKC and how they earned their way back into the series and tied it up. But man, I'm going to think about that 5-point stretch where SGA turned a 2-point deficit into a 3-point lead. And then the defense that was played on Halliburton down the stretch. I know there's some talk about the officiating. I just thought it was bad both ways, not necessarily tilted one way, which weirdly enough is the consistency I'm looking for. If you're going to be bad, it better be bad for both ways. And yeah, I had a lot of respect for the Pacers coming into this series. I said Thunder in 6. I would say that the Pacers win game 6 and force a game 7 that then isn't close if I thought Halliburton was even a hint of healthy. And I know in the past you've been a member of the anti-Halliburton agenda. I recognize that him having 0 field goals in game 5 is perfect for said agenda to make waves around the internet. It's just tough to the guy is 0% healthy, and the way his game is predicated on burst, he wasn't able to have any type of burst to get around a Dort or a Caruso or really anybody in game 5. And I thought it showed. So I think this is done in 6 as well, which of course means that the Pacers are going to win the title. So we'll see what happens. Chris, before you get out of here, let the fine folks at home know where they could find you, all of your work at Clutch Points.
Kris Pursiainen on Twitter. It'll be linked below. You can go on clutchpoints.com. Just go under the Knicks section or under NBA. I'll be in there somewhere. So I'm sure you can find some of my reporting, but it's definitely all linked on my Twitter. Had 5 articles come out in the last week, 4 with scoops about the Knicks. So I think they're worth your time.
They're linked in the episode description too. So please click on those, check those out. By all means, please support Chris as he continues to rise up the ranks here in this media landscape. We appreciate you and we're proud of you, Chris, for the work that you're doing.
That's very kind.
Of course. I had a front row seat to all of it, Chris. So it's cool to see you and where you're going, as well as I guess the bowels of WFAN, as you and our buddy David Shepard, right? That's who you're primarily.
Yes, sir. I work a lot with him. I work a lot with Shep, who's also at Sirius for NBA radio. So lots of multi-hatted dudes around here at NBA playoff time, just grinding it out. So I appreciate you shining some light for the unsung. Thank you, man.
Of course. Thank you everybody for tuning in. If you dug it, please head over to iTunes, drop a 5-star rating and a review. If you're watching on YouTube, like the video, remember to subscribe. We are on the road to 40K now, so please help us get there. I have no clue when I'll be back. Probably doing something at Fanatics Fest this weekend. I guess we should say, Chris, you will not be with us at Fanatics Fest this weekend. You will. Well, okay, no, you should probably be at Fanatics Fest. Now that
I should be at Fanatics Fest.
Yeah,
it's literally 4 days that I'll be enjoying warmer weather, and they happen to fall for the second straight year right during Fanatics Fest.
Gotcha. So I don't know whether to blame your vacation for being poorly timed or Fanatics Fest for being.
No, it's me. It's me okay. Because every year my mom is like, "Hey, these days work, right?" And I'm like, "Yeah." and then
well, now we know for next year to clear out your schedule. No, we have to go to Fanatics Fest, Mom. Mm-hmm. If you're watching this,
dude, the pros versus Joes.
The Fanatics games or whatever it's called.
Yeah. Dude, some of the they have Suni Lee in pros versus Joes. Everyone wants to see some regular dad of 3 throw in footballs against Tom Brady. Who gives a shit? We saw that with the Kirk Cousins every Sunday, man. Give me Suni Lee versus Greg from Harlem in gymnastics. You know what I like? Give me Suni Lee versus someone from Staten Island who really thinks that they're great. I want some headstrong New Yorker to be like, a couple flips, couple tricks. Come on, what do we got?
Yeah. I personally am looking forward to somebody potentially taking a shot at Tom Brady, but I co-sign all of the things you're saying, and I would hope a lot of you join us at Fanatics Fest this weekend. Tickets are still available. You can use our promo code Knicks Film School 20 to get 20% off your single day or 3-day purchase over the weekend. So please use the link, the KFS specific link in the description of this episode if you'd like to join us. We'll have some content coming out throughout the weekend, but please join us. This it's in the Javits Center. Come for a day, come for all 3 days. We'd love to see you. Until next time, thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Let's go Knicks, and we'll speak with you soon. Peace.